And we are back. Welcome back to the fantasy football universe for the second time today as we, roll through the last of the off-season content. I am Aaron St. Dennis at FF Mad Scientist, joined by Jeremy Schulman at FF_Rebel and Jesse Moeller at JMoeller05. Long time no see, boys. How's it going? It's been, a whole 2 hours, 3 hours, something like that?
A lot happened, yeah.
That's how we roll here in the off season. Apparently I shrunk though. I need to adjust my monitor so that I'm exactly the same height as yours, or else it looks weird. Jamie, what's going on, brother?
How you doing, Jamie? Welcome in as always. Appreciate you joining us today.
I was on the other side retweeting something, and I didn't realize you were pulling up a comment. I said, Jamie, did he just call Jesse Jamie? Is he fucking drunk? And then I realized Jamie was in the chat. That's what you were bringing up here.
We are sauced at 2:30, let me tell you what.
Hey,
I'm like, Jeremy's been day drinking, I see.
Yeah. 2:30. It's 11:30 at night here. I'm staying up. I got a 3 a.m. draft start today. Let's go.
This is an international life.
It's not day drinking for you. So
Hollywood Jack is a man of mystery in the international waters.
Listen. Some things can't be explained, so we're just gonna roll with that.
Yeah. All right. So today we are talking my guys. It's going to be one player for each of us at each position that we like better than consensus ADP. Got 3 of us here, so we'll get through our 3. If we have time, we'll get to SC's since he couldn't be bothered to join us, that lazy son of a bitch. But I guess let's see where we will start. I'm literally going to click on the top one on my list, which is me, my QB, Joe Burrow. This one's funny because Fantasy Pros has him as QB7, 70th overall. I don't have much of him at that price. They have him here after CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson, but before Kyler, Love, and Dak. I'm getting him in the range of Purdy, Daniels, and Caleb Williams, which is why he is my guy, and I have a ton of them. Like I said last night, my family draft, I got him in the 9th or 10th round, so that's what it is for me. It's just I think I have him ranked as QB5 behind the big 4, and I'm getting him as QB 10 or 12 off the board. So that's why I am all in on Joe Burrow. I think he's going to be healthy. Higgins will still be there. Chase, I like the running backs. I get it. Mixon's gone. I'm still in on Chase Brown. I like not Zach Moss. Who's there? Is it Zach Moss there now? I forget.
Yep.
Zach Moss. He's bounced around to so many teams I couldn't remember for a sec, but I don't know. I'm back in on this Bengals offense. I have a whole lot of shares of all of them because they're all so damn cheap. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. So the whole thing with Jamar Chase is a little bit worrisome. I moved him down to my wide receiver 7 just because I don't know if he's playing this week. I have no freaking idea, and this thing's gonna drag out. So it is a little worrisome, but overall, yeah, what you're getting out of Burrow. It's an extremely high floor, and if he hits those touchdowns like we've seen before, he could be a top 4 position. So yeah, I love getting him in that range. I think it's a valuable discount to take advantage of because it's just what you're getting. There's no mystery of how good of a player Joe Burrow is, right?
Yeah, and that value is kind of ridiculous if he is going there. I haven't even really been looking at Joe Burrow. But they also improved the offensive line in the first round this year. They brought in Mike Gesicki. That's got to improve his overall numbers. I'm not so worried about Jamar Chase. I think he's going to come in and pick up right where he left off. Might take a game or 2 to get acclimated. But, we saw Burrow miss a game or 2 in the past year or so. And he just came back in and picked up where he left off. My only concern is that wrist injury. If it lingers a little bit, it seems to be good to go. But I just kind of want to see it. But otherwise, yeah, bet on Joe Burrow. He's an animal, and he's got some of the best receivers in the game.
I'm not worried about Chase at all. I don't think it benefits him to sit out. But if he does, it would certainly benefit my T. Higgins shares that I have thousands of. Any other thoughts, or we want to go to Jesse's guy, I guess is what we have next.
Let's do it.
Jesse has Jaden Daniels. Is that right? I feel like that was somebody else. Did you have Jaden Daniels?
Daniels is fine. Him or Richardson, I don't really care. You know me, I love these mobile rushers. So
I just went by what you put in the chat. So he's going to 93rd overall.
I'm lower on ADP than him, so I guess he's not technically my guy, but we'll make the case because I was looking at ADP. I go, oh shit. It's one of Daniels, Kyler, or Richardson. Those are the three guys I've been heavily targeting because they fall a lot.
Yep.
Daniels is the cheapest of that group by far. Richardson goes like 5th round. Kyler goes in the 7th round. I can get Daniels in like the 9th round, and I'm like, dude, why the hell not? Like, we've said this out, like guys who put up 5 rushing points or more per game. Like the lowest we've seen from anyone do that, and that's what Jaden Daniels is going to do, is 17 points per game was Josh Allen. This was JJ Zach recent stat. So that's like the floor of what we've seen him do. And I think he's just a much better passer than Josh Allen was coming out. Because remember early on Josh Allen's career, it was struggle passing. Like he was a terrible passer. Richardson's
He's still a terrible passer.
Yeah, I mean he's one of the best passers in the league.
Yeah, a little bit better. Tiny bit.
He's like a little bit better.
No. Okay, maybe for fantasy production he is. As far as NFL passer, he still does the same thing. He turns the ball over too much. He throws for a ton of yards, but he fucks up the game when they need him most. That's why they can't win a playoff
taking
game.
over Josh Allen besides Patrick Mahomes. Please tell me the quarterback can take over Josh Allen. Please tell me.
I don't know. For fantasy, I don't know. Let me look on the list here.
Team, not fantasy at all.
Let's see.
Like Josh Allen's like a top 2, top 3 quarterback in the NFL. Like I don't.
He's also
I'm
like
taking
6th.
Joe Burrow over him
No, he's so go
in a heartbeat. We're talking real NFL or fantasy?
Yeah,
In real NFL.
Joe Burrow in a heartbeat.
His numbers across the board are better than Burrow in their matchups versus like across the board. They're better. He's won games. So, like I'm just like I don't know, man.
I'm taking
Close.
Joe Burrow.
But
That's a close one.
We're going on a tangent here, but yeah,
Yes,
with
we are.
Jaden Daniels, he's just really, really good rusher. And like if you get the passing numbers to come around, he's the last guy that gives you shots to get to the top 5 as far as fantasy production goes. So like the floor is super high and the ceiling is, if he hits it, the ceiling is higher than a lot of these guys. So I'm smashing him right there. Yeah, I mean he very much could. I think that it's Caleb is a better shot just because he's a better quarterback, better situation. But he's probably number 2 on that list, right? So it's like you have a good chance. So overall, if I'm getting him in this 8th, 9th round, I'm smashing that all day because I know that production is going to come. I don't have to worry about it. So yeah, all day. Let's do it. AR, baby.
Yeah. Wait. So you're saying AR? Or you're saying Daniels?
I meant to say Daniels. I said AR.
Daniels. No, but so that's the point. Is like Daniels with me. My concern is not the player; it's everything else. It's Cliff. I mean, we talked about the route bush a couple hours ago. That he's probably going to have Terry McLaurin running. We don't know what the hell how he's going to deploy Austin Eckler if there's much of Austin Eckler left. So the concern is the weapons, and the fact that we got Cliff Kingsbury calling the plays. All of that aside, we know Jaden Daniels can just hold on to the ball 50 times a game and run it like a madman and be Lamar light out there. But yeah, it's just the situation is not good. It's my only concern. That said, I will gladly take him at cost as my QB1 in redraft this year.
So they shipped out Jahan Dotson. They've got Terry McLaurin left. Is it possible we've misjudged this backfield and Brian Robinson is going to be the running back, and they're going to use Austin Eckler as like a slot receiver, slot running, and Eckler's just going to have a shitload of targets because they have even if you think he's washed up, which he looked washed, what receiver besides McLaurin is better than Austin Eckler?
Noah Brown.
They got Noah Brown, baby. Let's go. I think, yeah, it's a motley crew outside Terry McLaurin. Like you can make the case for McCaffrey. It's not the best receiver. Like let's not lie. I mean, Zach Ertz is going to be involved. He's dependent, and then there's the upside shot of Benson. But that wide receiver room is rough. So that's why Noah Brown's going to second. So I think it's more the case for Daniels as much more on the ground than it is as a passer. It's just if you want the upside to come along, he needs to be a better passer.
That sums up the fantasy community in a nutshell, though, right? We're out on Eckler as a pass catcher because he's old and washed up. So let's be all in on Zach Ertz.
Whoa.
Different position. that's really what it is.
His numbers took a massive, like even his targets for outrun and stuff like that all tanked last year. Yeah. And given that Daniels is going to run a heck of a lot more than Herbert or those guys ever have run, I do wonder what the upside of Eckler's catching passes. Like, can he get 50 targets this year? It's possible. Like, I think it's not possible. It's just, I don't know. I wonder how many targets he's going to get checked down to him, even though there is nobody else in that. Like,
somebody's got to get the ball.
Somebody does have to get the ball. I just don't know who it's going to be.
He's going to throw it to himself?
That would be hilarious.
Noah Brown.
All right, and on that note, let's bring up Jeremy's QB, my guy. It's the other rookie quarterback, Caleb Williams out of Chicago. QB 13, 96 off the board. I think I have actually. It's weird that the ADP has Daniels one spot higher because for me, I've seen Caleb 3 or 4 spots higher. So I don't quite understand their rankings here, but okay. So what are your thoughts here, Jeremy?
Yeah, it depends where you can get this guy, but I want Caleb Williams over Jaden Daniels. I know the rushing upside with Daniels is insane. Caleb has a bit of that. He reminds me a little bit of like early years Dak Prescott. I could absolutely see him going for 6 rushing touchdowns a season here. That's like upside case rushing for Caleb Williams, but he could approach 500 yards. He's probably in that 300 to 500 yard range rushing the ball. But then on the other hand, he has the passing chops, and he has probably the best situation of any rookie quarterback ever with those 3 ridiculous wide receivers. Offensive line, PFF ranks them 11th this season. 2 young tackles there in Chicago. He's got the pass catching running back, certainly DeAndre Swift. I mean, all of the weapons are in place for him. The defense is still up and coming. I'd call them mediocre at this point, which helps for fantasy purposes. Caleb Williams has to throw the football, and I don't even think Shane Waldron can fuck this up.
Don't leave it to.
You're underestimating him, I think.
Yeah, that is the one, like the fly in the ointment, right?
It is.
Shane Waldron's experience, how it's gonna go, but yeah, this situation's absolutely set up for him to smash. And like, I know Jamie's talking about Rashawn Johnson as a pass block. I mean, I'm really not into those running backs at cost. Really, it's like the pass catchers and the wide receivers, right? So it's interesting to look at. But yeah, Caleb is fantastic, and the rushing upside there. He's gone for over 300 and 400 yards in separate seasons as a rusher too. So I think it's kind of understated how good of a rusher he is on top of it. So I think there is definitely a high ceiling with him. I'm 100% with you, Caleb. I think he's a fantastic player.
I'm out on Caleb, and I can't even put a reason for it. There's nothing to back it up other than instincts here. I think here's my comparison for rookie Caleb, and you're gonna love this one. He's going to be LeBron James this year. He's gonna whine like a little bitch every time he gets hit. That's what he's gonna do. I don't have any interest in Caleb whatsoever this year. I don't think Caleb's any good. I have tons of shares of Jaden Daniels. I think Caleb's going to be Zach Wilson 2.0, and you can clip that, and I'm sure that'll go viral, but I don't care.
Chicago Bears captain Caleb Williams? Is that what we're talking about right now? Because the team voted him captain.
They do that with every rookie quarterback. Otherwise, they look like idiots.
Not Jaden Daniels. Is Jaden Daniels the captain?
Hey, I mean, LeBron was an top 10 MVP candidate his rookie year. So if you're telling me Caleb Williams will be top 10 MVP candidate, I'm on board with it.
I just wanted to take a shout out LeBron.
It is a Cleveland thing, so
What I would say is that if Jaden Daniels were a better player last season, better than winning the Heisman Trophy, maybe he would have been drafted first overall. I don't know, but it's Caleb Williams.
Yeah, no, he ain't. He'd have to be so good like last season. Like, there's no way. Caleb's just an incredible prospect. I don't know. But if Washington had that first pick, maybe they take him there. You never know.
I think everyone anointed Caleb before the season started last year and just decided he's so much better than everyone else. We're going to ignore how crappy he was last year.
Yeah, it wasn't even bad.
No, in fact, that defense was atrocious, and he still managed to win games.
He was still really, really good. Like
he wasn't anywhere as good as he was the years before. I don't think he was really. I mean,
when you have a good situation, a bad situation.
Good thing he got rid of Cliff Kingsbury. Where's Cliff Kingsbury? Oh yeah, Washington.
That's my boy Jaden now. Yeah, just fucking all of them. He said, "Hey, I'll take you, Caleb. I'll take you, Jaden. Let's go."
That's it.
Chicago really has that proven track record of getting the quarterback position right. So,
I mean,
moving on.
Okay, Detroit Lions fan. Let's move on.
I don't care much about the Lions. Anyways, I guess we'll run through SCs. We're making pretty good time. So the lowest quarterback on our list, he's got Deshaun Watson of the Browns, QB 22, 168th overall. I have a lot of shares of Watson in leagues where I missed quarterback. That's all I really have to say. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, their situation, they're going to pass a lot more this year. They've built their offense around that. And with the injuries to Nick Chubb, right? They went out, they got Jerry Jeudy. They clearly want to feature the pass. They even did this with YOLO Ball, freaking Joe Flacco last year, right? And they were just chucking it around the field. So it's all about that shoulder if it can hold up. If it can hold up, he'll produce fancy points because he's mobile on top of it too. So It's risky, but like I get it. It's QB 22. If you're down in the muck in that range and you miss out on Geno and Cousins, all those guys, I'm happy to take a shot on Watson. I think there's significant upside with him.
He's going after those guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's ridiculously cheap price. I don't get it. I mean, I do get it because he's been terrible, but yeah.
Well, he's going to run the football, so that's helpful. I mean, if anyone needed time to sit down and learn a little bit about the offense of the game of football, Deshaun Watson has had 3 years now of sitting down and learning the Stefanski offense. I mean, look, if it doesn't happen this year, and I'm not a huge believer in Deshaun Watson, if it doesn't happen this year, it's never going to happen. That said, I think he's got a chance. I'm also out on Deshaun Watson. I can't do it anymore. I have a few shares from last season where I was buying the dip. The dip hasn't come back up really, and it may just continue to nosedive. So I'm, crossing my fingers, but I don't know. I don't have a lot of hope over there. Cleveland also looks like they're in disarray. Jerome Ford, they practically benched this guy or timeshared him toward the end of the year. And they still have probably a top 3 rushing run blocking offensive line. So it doesn't matter who you put back there, but I think they're hoping to put someone else back there besides Jerome Ford, and it's going to be.
And in the ultimate fuck you to Jeremy, we'll transition to my running back, my guy, Jerome Ford of the Cleveland Browns. Because
he's going to get all the volume, that's for sure.
Well timed, RB35, 104th off the board. He is my guy. I love him. I thought he was great. I've been banking on Nick Chubb not coming back. I also am still in on Deshaun Watson as a QB too. Like, I think he's got the upside to be a top 10 or top 12. I don't know if he'll ever get it back. And if he doesn't this year, I'm out. But Jerome Ford, he's an RB2 and he's free. I'm in.
He is.
Despite what Jeremy said.
So wait. So I'll respond first since I was just trashing Jerome Ford.
Awesome.
Let me just take a look at this at the back half. So my concern isn't the situation that he's in, and it isn't really his volume. I think he's going to get a ton of it. My concern is just the player. Although at the running back position, we want opportunity in most cases over talent, especially when, like you said, RB35, that's a phenomenal price. I just don't think he's going to hang on to the job all season. I've been picking up a bunch of Deonta Foreman just because of how I view Jerome Ford and what happened in the back half of the season. That said, Deonta Foreman was cut. They re-signed him, so they clearly didn't think enough of Deonta Foreman if they were going to lose him. So it does appear to be Jerome Ford's job to lose. He could, however, lose passing down work to Pierre Strong. Nick Chubb could come back tomorrow. He could come back in what's probably more likely November, December, and then is he even, 100% Nick Chubb, 80% Nick Chubb? We'll have to see what happens. Can he cut? I don't know, but the situation is there. The line is great, so I don't have a problem taking a shot. He's so cheap.
No, it's at RB35. He's a free RB2 or flex play. It's not the same player, but we said this a year ago about Kyron. He's slow, he's small, he's not explosive. All 3 were true. His fucking volume and opportunity was so much that, I mean, he got better. He was better than expected, but that was a ton of volume. I don't expect him to be Kyron, but we've seen in fantasy, like the Mike Davis scenario, you don't necessarily have to be good if you're carrying the ball 20 times a game. You just have to volume your way there. And I'm drafting him on my roster as like the 6th running back on my team. So it's a depth play with upside.
For sure.
I'm all in at that price.
Yeah, I more view him as a floor play than a ceiling play. And that's my whole issue with Ford, because to your point, he's going to be splitting work, and he's always going to be splitting work in that backfield. So what he needs is AKA Foreman to not do the Kareem Hunt stuff from last year, because that took all the goal line work where he didn't get that. If he gets that, then you're getting this bona fide guy who can give you high ceiling. I think he's similar to Jaleel McLaughlin. Like, that's kind of how I view Ford. It's these guys that play the ancillary role in their offense where they're going to be a usable RB2, like if you were in the desperation where you need the guys in that range. I think Chase Brown's going right around those guys, so I prefer Chase Brown. But overall, like, the upside is my question more than the floor. I know what the floor is. It's fine. If you're going to get like 12 points a game, it'll be usable. It should be okay.
But he did have plenty of blow-up weeks last year, especially if he was used in the passing game. Since Jamie's hitting us with all the stats, I wonder if Jamie has any specific insight into Nick Chubb, because the last I heard, I saw him doing squats like a month and a half ago. The last I heard, he's not going to be ready for week 1, and I don't know when he's going to be ready. But I think when he comes back, he's not going to be 100%. So it really is Jerome Ford and not much else there. But yeah, Deonta Foreman could be
You
the
want
goal
the
line
latest
guy.
update? Nick
I
Chubb
do.
might be out until midseason. Cleveland running
Yeah.
back currently dealing with a knee injury and working his way back. Cost him
That
last
sounds about
season.
right.
Team's already placed the star on the PUP list, and he'll miss the first 4 games at a minimum. Chubb, blah 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 blah. Long story short, they think he'll be back midseason at best.
Yeah. It's like it's going to be interesting when he comes back. I think it's more late end of the year, and I don't even know if you can count on him.
It's
But if
J.K.
we like the
Dobbins. When he
offense,
comes back, I don't think he's very good.
yeah, I mean, J.K.
I mean-
Dobbins has been significantly better as far as like
Ooh.
touches per game and stuff. We'll see. But that's the thing,
This
right?
is
Like
possible.
That makes sense.
we're betting on these situations similar to like Singletary early in the year, maybe in Doddle. These type of guys where the situation's very open for them to come in and at least give you a month of production early on until you, if you have Jonathan Brooks, like he's on your IR spot, you plug in Ford for the first month of the year, you see how it goes, and when Brooks comes back, you can replace him. So like it's kind of a yin and yang thing. I don't think you're going to count on Ford all year, but at the price, yeah, like I'm on board.
Did you mean Hubbard?
No, like I'm saying, if I had Brooks on my roster and I needed some early season production,
okay.
you go get
Gotcha.
like a Jerome or any one of those guys.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
I would argue that the late year starting running back isn't on the roster at the moment. Sometimes we see these guys come up from the practice squad or they're signed mid-year. I know Fournette was like in Indy, I think, for some reason today. There's still some Kareem Hunt is still out there. There's still some guys out there who could do like a late year, like a Roger Clemens, come in for like the back half of the year if they need a guy and the team is doing well.
They had Pierre
but
Strong
yeah.
and Naheem Hines.
Yeah, those they could play. Yeah,
Those
The
guys
receiving
exist.
role,
Yeah.
I think they piece it together with garbage this year and draft a rookie on day 2 next
I
year.
think that's the most likely scenario. Yes, I agree with you.
I agree.
All right, let us get to our next guy if I can find the freaking thing. Jesse's my guy, Jonathan Brooks of the Panthers. ADP is RB34, 92nd overall, starting the season on the PUP list. Thoughts?
Yeah, so he's the one rookie running back and like the one guy in this range. When he's healthy, I know he's going to get all the workload he can handle. They've already talked about it multiple times, Dave Canales, how they're more than willing to feature the running back. They were talking about actually today, Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard, and how they're going to like kind of yin and yang, let each other breathe and do that. They were talking, and they asked him if they has confidence in guys to like get the work to get comfortable. He said, yeah. So like what I read from that is when my dude comes back, Jonathan Brooks, he's going to be a guy that's pushing an RB1 usage at the end of the year. So case in point, I already made it where we just talked about it. You go get a Singletary earlier in the year, any one of these guys to give you replaceable production earlier in the year. When he comes back, it's probably going to be like week 5, week 6. It'll take him a little time to ramp up. And then he's going to take over the job because newsflash, the Carolina running backs just aren't that good. Like Miles Sanders has been one of the worst running backs in the NFL. Chuba Hubbard's fine, but he's very replaceable. What you're getting is like a different caliber of player and athlete. Brooks went over 22 yards, like miles per hour. Last year, he was flying. Like he's actually pretty fast too. So I think he takes the Carolina offense to another level, which is what we want to see. So yeah, this is why I've been pounding the table with Brooks, because of all the running backs in that range, barring an injury to the starter, there's nobody I see with massive projectable volume down the stretch, that's like win now mode, right? When you're going for playoffs, I think Brooks is going to be a centralized. I'm going to have him. I'm pretty sure about this. Like I'll probably have him ranked as the top 12 running back at the end of the year, like each week and now. So like I'm 100% on the Jonathan Brooks train. So yeah, that's my pitch for him.
I love that. And what I'll say is that you said that Carolina doesn't have any good running backs other than Brooks. They don't have any good tight ends, period. They don't have any good wide receivers other than Deontay Johnson and the weekend at Bernie's corpse of Adam Thielen running around out there. But Dave Canales is able to kind of piece these things together. I believe in Bryce Young, and I think he'll do it with Brooks, with Deontay, and with Adam Thielen. Because that's really all he's got going on, at least in terms of the volume in this offense. And yeah, I love Brooks for that. Like you said, get somebody at the beginning of the year. You can even just take a Chuba. I think he's probably the 1A there until Brooks comes back, and then just drop Chuba as soon as Brooks comes back, assuming he's 100% healthy, and roll with Brooks for the rest of the season.
I like everything you said, but these scenarios scare me. It like in redraft anyways. It's just because it's a situation where best case scenario, you're going to get him for what, week 5 or 6 at absolute best case. Worst case scenario, What if he lingers? What if it takes him 8 weeks? What if he comes back and he doesn't look explosive? I'm all over him in Dynasty. He just really worries me. I guess at 92nd overall, RB 34, it's pretty much free. I don't want to. I want him on my IR as a free guy where I get to week 6 and it's like, oh shit, I had Jonathan Brooks. How about that? I don't want to be passing on anyone good on the board to draft him. He's my guy where it's like, it's the same as Ford. When I get far enough down the board and it's like, oh, there's nobody I really want. Let's just take these guys. I've really had bad luck, I guess, in the past with some of these, Michael Thomas is only going to miss the first 4 weeks of the season. 3 years later, Michael Thomas has played 2 games. So I get it. This isn't the same scenario. I'm just saying I hate drafting. Well, it's the same thing why I don't want to spend heavy capital on TJ Hawkinson. Best case scenario, we're looking at what, week 8? I'll wait. So, but I do like him. Like at that price. I just hope
he's a lot younger than the Thomas or the Hawkinson, right?
Well, yeah, obviously.
So it definitely works in his favor a little bit. That's why I'm really out on Chubb too. It's the age on top of it and everything else. It's just I don't want to invest in these old guys. Significant injury. But when you're young at that age, it's a lot easier for them to come back easier. I mean, it still takes a lot of work, but you know what I mean.
Well, but it's harder for the running backs to come back. Obviously, he's way younger, but it's harder for the running backs to overcome this than the receivers because the running backs have to make all these fancy cuts. But I don't know. He's nice and young. Well, that'll transition us to Jeremy's guy who's not nice and young.
No, he's super old. In fact, was he 32? Is he 32 yet, or is he still 31? Raheem Mostert, the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, I don't know where he's going off the board, but he's at least RB20. He's a RB3.
RB25, 75th overall.
There you go. He was the RB2 last season, last season. He scored a crap ton of touchdowns. I think it was 21 total touchdowns. That's pretty ridiculous. That's not going to happen again. He's most likely not going to be the RB2 again. But you look for a few things here. You look for number one, you want a dynamic offense. This was the most efficient offense in the league last year. They led the league in rush attempts. Not rush attempts. They were middle of the pack in rush attempts. They led the league in yards per carry. They led the league in rushing touchdowns. And I think they were still second in passing attempts as well. I have that up. I can double check that. But the point is they were a highly efficient offense. They were doing it all over, but I don't think we expect this offense to be any less dynamic this year. The issue that people want to bring up is, Jalen Waddle will be better. Yeah, he probably will be. Jonnu Smith is in town. Stop. Jalen Wright was drafted. Okay, whatever. No, Raheem Mostert is the trusted guy, and until the wheels fall off, they're going to ride him. He's going to be at least a mid-range RB2 this season. That is RB15 or higher. You're getting him at the RB25, which is a supreme discount. And if he scores 20 touchdowns again, people might be surprised, but they really shouldn't be. He just did it. Mike McDaniel is the best play caller in the game. They had everything in support around him. And the O-line did get a little bit worse, but it almost doesn't matter because, Tua's got that quick release. They play the game in speed, and it doesn't matter who you give it to. You don't know where the ball's going. But that guy, and they've got, 5 of them now, 6 of them if you count Malik Washington or OBJ, 6 of them who could take it to the house on any play. So you don't know where it's going. The offense is crazy dynamic, and the defense is atrocious. So please, please, please invest in all your Miami Dolphins. And this guy is the cheapest of them.
Yeah, and I think the big – oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, that's all right. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the biggest thing with this team is they sat their starters a lot of times in the fourth quarter because they had these big leads early on in the season. I think it was 10 games where that happened last season. I don't expect that to happen this year. They're going to come back down because the defense and everything working against them. The offense will still be super efficient. By the way, the top 2 rushers with PFF grades, Devon Achane was 1, Raheem Mostert was 2 last year. So guess what? These guys were very good combo. Mostert's good, but he's going to regress, obviously, because that's nobody should expect 20 touchdowns, right? Or his usage, but he's old. It's all built in at cost. That's the whole thing. When we got smarter as a market, we're not spending the Mike Davis price on him. He's even cheaper than that a few years ago, right? So it's just what you're getting. You're going to guy that's the worst case is going to be usable RB2 for you. If you have him as your RB2, RB3, I think you can file with that.
You're drafting him at his floor, and the only argument against him, and we see this time and time again, is injury. That's the only argument against Raheem Mostert right now. Jalen Wright looked good in the third quarter against, scrubs and backups trying to make an NFL roster. Jalen Wright in in the beginning of the year in September and October against true number one NFL competition, do we really think he's ready for that, especially playing over Raheem Mostert? I don't think so.
Raheem Mostert's going as RB25. Achan's going as what, RB7? I bet you they finish a lot closer together than ADP. I think Mostert, I think it's like 55-45 as far as fantasy point production. I think it's going to be a lot closer than anyone expects.
I have Achan at 8 and Mostert at 16 on the season.
Well, I like your 16 more than 25.
I'm very high on Achan. Like I'm team Achan all the way. I think he's just a better overall player. But that said, like these year 2 running backs that like were super efficient, they get more volume. That's just how life goes because the coaching staff's like, oh, this guy's incredible. So I think the usage is going to kind of shift where Raheem Mostert's like the 1A, like 1B, 1A, but he's still going to be involved. It's not like he's going to be just replaced and dissipated. So I still think he could see, up close to 200 touches in that offense, give or take. Because they talk about how they're going to talk about, they also talked about they're splitting Devon and Achan out wide, and they've also used him that way in preseason too, where they're trying to get him more in the passing game. So I think Mostert's going to get more of those like ground touches. Achan's going to be a little more used in the area. It works out for both of these guys. Like it's one of the best offenses in the NFL. We want to invest in all of the running backs, even as freaking Wright as a backup. Like I like all of them.
That's been my problem for redraft. Like it's different in Dynasty. In redraft, okay, Achan and Jahmyr Gibbs are 2 of the best, youngest, explosive backs. But the problem is where we're drafting them and where we're drafting Montgomery and Mostert, everyone's acting like it's just going to go to a like 75% split for Achan. He's going in this, or like I've seen him go early to mid-second round. It never happens like that. They're gonna increase Gibbs's workload. They're gonna increase Achan's. It's still gonna be like a committee here. Everyone acts like all of a sudden Mostert's just dead and Montgomery are still dead. They're still going to be useful backs, and I think it's going to be far closer. Like I think this one's closer than Montgomery will be to Gibbs, and I think Gibbs is still a decent value. They don't unless one of them in Mostert or Montgomery is injured. They're still going to be a large role in this offense. They're not just going to disappear, and that's why I have no shares of Achan in the early second round.
Well, I think most of your point is correct. Like everyone is assuming these guys, the more volume that Gibbs and Achan get, the less volume that those other guys get. And I think that's true, but it's not true that it affects them as much as their ADP has declined. So I do think Mostert's an extreme value. I don't hate Monty where he's going right now. Agree with you. The part I don't agree with is I'm fine investing in both of Achan and Gibbs at cost, and I think they could be absolute monsters. These guys are so efficient, so dynamic, in great offenses tailored to their game that they're getting what a 10, maybe 15% bump in touches this season, and those numbers could go through the roof because both of these guys can take it to the house on any play, and the offenses are designed to help them do that.
Yeah, we've seen it. These are the Achan and Gibbs are the 2 running backs that don't need a 50% opportunity share to still be an RB1. Like that's the 2 guys of all the NFL players. Like so, it's like the floor is super high for those guys, and then if they hit the ceiling, like they could be pushing that borderline RB1 to like overall RB1 status. That's in their range of outcomes. I don't know if it's the most likely, but where they're going, I'm fine taking them just because I like betting on talent. We see with them, but I also like to your guys' point. I like the old veterans where you get them at discounts. Like that kind of how it works. I'm fine investing in all 4 of these guys personally.
I like Gibbs more than Achan at their cost. And I know someone called me out on the article the other day and said, nobody expects Achan to have a 70% touch share or whatever the hell you want to call it. I said, well, when you're taking him in the second or third pick of the second round, yeah, you do. You're investing at him like he's going to have that because if this is a 50-50 split or a 55-45 split, Achan's not bringing back top 15 value. Like you look at the running backs above him, it's not happening. CMC, Breece Taylor are bell cows.
That's why they had a 71-point fantasy game last season.
He had 17 points per game on a 40% up. Like he got 40% of touches and he gave you 17 points per game. It's like even if he gets to 50, like he can be less efficient and still get there. Yeah, that's what
have you met the Denver Broncos?
Take away that game. You could take away the Broncos game. He was still amazing.
He followed up the 71-point Denver Bronco game with a 30-point game against the Buffalo Bills, who still had a fairly decent defense last year, not this year, and 29-point a game against the New York Giants. So, and then he got injured, right? So we saw what he can do if he's back to full health. He did a few of those 30-point games toward the end of the season as well. I mean, he's just so dynamic, and a full season of Achan is exciting.
The Bills weren't a good defense. I'm trying to look it up because I know I've done this.
You put up
and
23 fantasy points against Baltimore, the best defense in the league. How's that for you?
I'm not paying that price for him. I don't want to do it. I think I'd much rather have Mostert at his price. All yours. Okay, next guy up is SC's guy, Najee Harris of the Steelers. 23rd RB off the board, 67th overall. Yes. This one becomes a debate of Harris versus Warren. Warren's been nursing an injury lately, so I think that's why Harris has risen a bit. What are your thoughts here, guys?
Fine. Jesse, I want you to take it, but I just want to quote SC because this is seared into my memory. Arthur Smith is going to run Najee Harris into the core of the earth this season. He does not care. Najee's going to get 300 carries because Arthur Smith is a maniac, and now Jaylen Warren is injured. But yeah, the SC said that a few months ago, and he's right.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know what Najee's going to get, and particularly with the Jaylen Warren injury, what that does with these guys is it takes them a little bit longer to come along. We know what Arthur Smith's usage is. It's incredible for tight ends. It's incredible for running backs. Now, does he split that work up? Yeah, it's fucking annoying for the tight ends. Good luck, Pat Freiermuth. I wish you all the luck in the world, my friend. Good luck in all those stats. But for the running backs, like, they're very focalized point of this offense. Guess what? Their wide receivers suck. Like, outside George Pickens, they do not have a lot of good wide receivers. So what are they going to do? They're going to, as you said, pound them into the core of the earth. Like, Najee Harris is probably going to see upwards of 20 touches a game. Yeah. Jaylen, when he comes back, when Warren comes back, he's going to be involved as well, too. So I like both of these guys at cost. Yep. RB23, it's a back-end RB2. You know what you're getting. Similar to some of these other guys, I worry what the ceiling is for them, but they're incredibly high floor plays. So you know they're going to give you that ADP. Like, would they be borderline RB1 back-end? Entirely possible. You just need the touchdowns. I like both of them at cost. I've been the Warren guy, but like I shifted to Najee because of the injury. I'm just not sure how likely it is he comes back actually. So yeah, I want both of these Steelers running backs at cost. I think it's a good bet.
Yep. What Jesse said.
Yeah, I can't really argue any of it. I'm not gonna lie. All right. So I guess let's see what the comment here is. Najee's a great RB2 for a hero RB strategy. I don't know if I necessarily want him for my RB2. I don't hate it. I think I like to have him as my RB3. I worry a little more, but I don't hate it. I typically don't ever wait that long on my hero RB hero RB. Sorry, guy.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead. Oh,
that's all good. Finish it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say if you're gonna go 3 wide receivers at tight end, and then you get to because you already have the RB1 right, so that's 5, and then you punt quarterback a little bit. You can pull the Najee as like in the 6th, 7th round, get him as your RB2. Like that's totally fine.
Maybe I just haven't had to deal with it because I've been zigging when everyone else is zagging. I find wide receiver. Normally everyone it's punt running back and get all the value at wide receiver. This year, everyone's just been loading up on wide receiver. So I found I have a lot more robust RB builds than I have in years past. But let's see. Okay, we got a question. 12-teamer, that's a lot of players. What do you think? Okay, 12-team Richardson, JT, ETN, Collins, Cup, Ferguson. That's a pretty good starting lineup there. Benches. Omari. Benches Coleman, Hollywood, T-Law, Corum, Conklin. The talent trades falls off a bit here. Trade, he gets Andrews and Montgomery and Najee, gives ETN and Ferguson. Sorry, the punctuation's throwing me out.
Yes,
so it gets Andrews, Montgomery, Najee, give up ETN, Ferguson. I think that's, because Andrews over Ferguson. And then I want...
So you're plugging Najee as your RB2. Yeah, that's fine. The guys I don't want to trade are Richardson, JT, and Collins on this squad. So if you're staying outside of that range, that's fine. Yeah,
so you're giving up the best running back, but you're getting 2 good ones back, and you're getting the better tight end.
I'm also
the wide receivers
are studs. Yeah, like your wide receivers are good. I like your wide receivers. Yeah.
All right. Yes, we take it. So where were we? Okay, my wide receiver, my guy, Michael Pittman of the Colts, ADP, wide receiver 22, 36th overall. For me, it just becomes a case like we did this earlier in our wide receiver tier consensus rankings, I guess. It's not so much that I love Michael Pittman. It's just that he always falls. And in the range where he's going, I just prefer him over pretty much every one of the receivers there. There's a lot of low upside, boring old guys. Like he goes in the range with Diggs and that, and I just much rather have that. So you are welcome. What are your thoughts here? What did I do here? I'm Michael Pittman.
Yeah, I am a little bit worried about Pittman. I think he's more of the borderline floor play, and I don't know how high the floor is this year. But to your point, like I think he's wide receiver 17 on points per game basis last year. He was a very good, usable wide receiver. At that cost, I wish it was a little bit cheaper, but he's in that range we talked about on our show earlier today. Like he falls into that tier 4 of wide receivers, which is massive. You're like, you can make the case for DK here. You can make the case for all these guys, right? So I think he's fine. The nice thing about the RPO offense is he's going to be the first read on a lot of those targets. So he's going to be getting a ton of designated targets. I just think the question marks really comes in if AD Mitchell or Josh Downs could steal more of that work this year. I think that's the biggest question mark with Pittman because he's such a volume hog, similar to Michael Thomas in years past. When those volume hogs have their volume kind of taken away, it affects them a little bit differently. But overall, yeah, I think he's a very valuable wide receiver who we've kind of done this again where we're punting them significantly. And like at cost, I don't mind him at all.
See, for me, it comes down to I'm not high on AD Mitchell or Josh Downs. I think AD Mitchell was kind of a field stretcher, and I don't think either of them is good enough to take away any of. I think they're good deep threats or a slot guy for Downs. I don't think either of them is good enough to take Pittman's volume, and that's probably why I'm higher than Pittman than everyone else.
I'm in love with AD Mitchell, and I still have Michael Pittman as my wide receiver 16 this season. I just think A-Rich it's all set up for him. I mean, we talked about Caleb Williams' situation, like Richardson's situation. He's effectively a rookie again this season. We're going to have to see what he actually does on the field, but he's got it all in place. Amazing offensive line, amazing run game. They're going to be able to stretch the field now. And, you could have Pierce on one side and AD on the other side for some plays as well. You can move these guys around. You got Downs, you got Pittman. So it's just a dynamic offense, a great play caller. Don't have to deal with Shane Waldron here. You got Shane Steichen instead, the better Shane. And it's all in place for him. So the question is, can Richardson improve his accuracy? You hope he can, but these guys should be wide open. Pittman had 141 and 156 targets in the last 2 seasons, only scored 4 touchdowns in each season, and still finished easily as a wide receiver 2 in both seasons. I think if those touchdowns come up again, not super sticky, but if they come up, the volume remains the same, the offense is a bit more spread out, he could easily return value in ADP.
Yeah, like it's one of those guys. Like there's a small sample size of routes run with Josh Downs and Michael Pittman. They were like 13 points per game, and Downs is at 12. So like that's the one worrying thing with him, and it's if Mitchell can step forward or not. But I don't think anyone's expecting Pittman to see under 120 targets on his offense. Like we know he's going to be fed good volume, so I think he's a good ball play.
All right, transitions us to Jesse's guy, KC receiver Rashee Rice, going wide receiver 30, 68th overall. At that price, he may be the best value in fantasy football. Problem is, it doesn't look like he's getting suspended, and I don't think he's going that low anymore. If he is, though, take him because that's
yeah,
free.
He went in that draft you were on me yesterday. He went wide receiver 31. The pick right before me, and I was pissed. So
what round was that? Because he went in the 5th round of my draft yesterday.
It was like the 6th or 7th. I don't remember. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I did the data. And I was like, well, I guess I got to save it for Xavier Worthy. Oh, no. Yeah, it's the guy that is going to be the volume sponge in the middle of the field while Worthy and Hollywood stretch the field downfield. They're opening it up. You kind of like Kelsey do the same thing. We saw it last year. When Rashee Rice took over, he was a wide receiver 1. I think he was wide receiver 10 in the back half of the year. When he finally got on the field running all of the routes, that route bush that Jeremy was talking about, that's what he was doing. So the whole thing with Rashee Rice is he doesn't need to necessarily improve. He could do what he did last year and still be a very valuable impact guy for you. And at wide receiver 30, the discount's already built in. Like I'm absolutely smashing him at that cost because guess what? He could be a volume guy in this Kansas City offense. And do you want a guy connected to Mahomes who could throw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns? Like I like that. I'll take the shot on that. So yeah, wide receiver 30, give me that all day. I'm drafting Rashee.
I think you need to make a T-shirt of the route bush.
Rashee Rice route bush.
I don't know if it'd be suitable for television. We'll see.
That's what makes it funnier. No, you got to make it so it's not at all safe.
Yeah, agree. The one thing the best argument that I've heard for Rashee Rice lately is not all the things about maybe not being suspended. Really, it's the fact that they may rest Travis Kelce even more in the regular season this year to keep him fresh for the playoffs. The $100 million man, needs to make sure that he keeps his vocal cords fresh so he can return value on his podcast. Taylor doesn't want him out there getting beaten up too much, unless he's winning championships. So that's the whole goal for this team, right? So why not let Rashi run around out there and soak up a lot of those, underneath targets that Kelsey used to get a ton of. He's still going to get his, but he might be playing a little bit less, and that volume is going nowhere else. But Rashi, CEH is done now. Samaje could play in, but Rashi has just had those screenplays drawn up for him. They tried to do this for Mecole Hardman a couple of years ago, even I think last year in his second stint for the team. Problem is Mecole sucks. At least Rashi Rice is a good player, and he actually showed that he could fill that role last year. This is almost like the Jamal Charles role from years ago, when they kind of split him out of the backfield and ran those screenplays with him. And they had Kelsey there. That's how old Kelsey is. So all of those things in Rashi Rice's favor. I like it. I love it.
Yeah, he was awesome last year too. He had an 80+ PFF grade. He was at 2.39 yards per route run. Like he's everything you want. Like that's just drafting, folks.
Jeremy chose Seattle receiver DK Metcalf, going as wide receiver 18, 42nd overall. He seems to go in that really large group of receivers where it's kind of just pick your player. It's probably 15 of them. What are your thoughts here?
DK is my wide receiver 12. I think that might be a little bit too low. I might have to move him up to wide receiver 11 or wide receiver 10. I have him well over Malik Neighbors. I have him over Marvin Harrison Jr. this year. Look, I know it wasn't a great season last year for the Seattle offense. They really struggled. That offensive line had injury. They also sucked a ton. It was just a terrible, terrible year for them. Pete Carroll, it was just very stubborn and wanted to keep running the ball. We talked enough about Shane Waldron this offseason. They got rid of all of those guys. They pretty much revamped their offensive line. It's not better, but it's at least different, right? And then you have a new offensive coordinator, a new head coach in town who's not going to step on his toes. But what Ryan Grubb at Washington was able to do last season was take a very solid and capable NFL caliber quarterback in Michael Penix and have him throw to 3 NFL capable wide receivers. We're seeing that play out this year. All 3 of those guys, that's Rome Odunze, Jalen Polk, and Jalen McMillan, have all received praise in camp this season. Those guys are all monsters and will be for a while in this league. And we have the same situation here in Seattle with JSN, Tyler Lockett, who's still capable, and of course, DK Metcalf. I think DK Metcalf is the one in this offense. I trust Ryan Grubb, who Washington, if you didn't know, last season was 12th in college football out of like a gabillion teams. All of the teams in college football, they were 12th in passes per game last season. And the running game was not terrible, but they were just so highly efficient. They run a great offense. Grubb knows how to utilize his guys. I love JSN as well this season. I think he's got wide receiver 2 pretty firmly in the wide receiver 2 range, but I just think DK, we're going to see the old DK, highly efficient. If he catches 80 balls, DK catches 80 balls, he's got locked in double-digit touchdowns, and he's probably got about 1,200 yards with where he received those down.
All right, well, we're running out of time here, so we're going to cut to just the tight ends here, and we're going to talk about all 3 of them because there's 3 tight ends that we chose between the 4 of us. Jesse and SC both chose Trey McBride of the Cardinals. Tight end 3 off the board, 48th overall. I took Evan Engram, tight end 8, 72nd overall. Jeremy has Kyle Pitts, tight end 7, 66th overall. Moral of the story is all 4 of us want a top 8 tight end. What do we think here? Like we're all going for that, none of us really seem to have the top 2 because they go off the board earliest. I think I'm in the group here with Jeremy where we're just trying to get whoever the last one to go is. You guys seem to have the middle here with Trey McBride. What are our thoughts here on my guys for tight ends?
Yeah, like if I can't get one of the elite guys early, so if I can't get Trey McBride, I'm just going to punt it to David Njoku. He's the guy I like the most of the back end range. Like you talking about with Ingram. Same thing. Like it's the guy that was really good. Check out there. Njoku was a tight end 1 from like week 8 on. Like McBride was right there with him. Like if we push it to like week 10, I think he was a tight end on the rest of it. He led the league in like yards per out run once he was a starter. His like PFF grade was really good as a receiver. Like he did everything you did once Zach Ertz was yeeted out of Arizona. And they're like, all right, let Trey McBride do his thing. He also has one of the best receiving profiles we've seen coming out. He had a 100-catch season as a senior in college. Like he's just really good athletic freak wide receiver connected to Kyler Murray in an offense that doesn't have many, like besides Maher Jr., they don't have much else. So it's like, yeah, he could be this generation's Travis Kelce, where he's just the guy that's seeing over 100 targets every year, giving you 15 plus fantasy points per game for the next 5 years. So I'm on board with Trey McBride.
Yeah. I think we're all trying to find like a top 3 tight end this season at value. I think McBride is the number 3, but we've talked at length, Jesse, you especially, how he could be and probably should be the tight end 1 this season and overall finish. The guy that I think could finish tight end 1 at the back half of those top 6 tight ends is Kyle Pitts. I think whether you get him or Kincaid, that's your best shot at value at getting the potential tight end 1. But I picked Pitts because he's got a new offensive coordinator in Zach Robinson. He's got Kirk Cousins, an all-pro. They have a functional offense, and the defense is meh. It's okay. They're going to have to air the ball out. They want to air the ball out. Kirk Cousins isn't fully ready. It goes down and gets injured. We know we have Michael Penix to step in, and Kyle Pitts plays the tight end position. So when we're talking about an offense here with condensed targets, the tight end here who's going to run a ton of routes is a much better value, I think, even though I love Drake London as well. So I think Kyle Pitts could end up the number 1 target on this team. I don't know if he will, but he could. And if that's the case, he could be the tight end 1 at the end of the season.
The tight end rankings are so subject to change too, like depending on league, because my home leagues, it's so much different than the industry leagues where, my home leagues, it's okay. So Sam Laporta goes off the board first because I'm in the Detroit market. Then it's Kelce and Andrews and Kittle. The guys like McBride, like Pitts is going too, but the guys like McBride and Kincaid are falling right off the map. Njoku, Ingram, it's all name chasing. So I guess it all depends on, what kind of league you're in. I know this time of year, it's pretty much all work and home leagues. That's why I mention it, because all the big names go. So guys like McBride are actually a better value. And Kincaid's the one I'm surprised none of us picked, because Kincaid, even in some of the expert ones, he goes to sometimes he can be tight end 8 or 9. So yep. I like him as a value.
Agree.
I do too. He just needs to show a little bit more than what he showed last year. Like unlike McBride and Laporta and those guys, they were just better players last year. So he could take a step forward for sure and be tight end 1. I think that's in his range.
All right. Well, I believe that is a wrap on our My Guys episode. Check back tomorrow at noon, I believe. We're going to conclude our off-season content, finally. We're going to do running back consensus rankings / tiers. Check back tomorrow for that, or head over to fantasyfootballuniverse.com for all of our written content. We had some of it coming out today, some buy low, sell high, going into the season and whatnot. And we will be publishing 2 or 3 things a day, all up to date. I think we have our first off-season waiver wire going for tomorrow. I know it's week 1, but it's just kind of some guys were, thanks for joining us again, Jamie. Oh, we both clicked on it at the same time. Just some guys we're looking to add here going into the season. But we will see you again for the last time in the off-season tomorrow at noon. Thank you all for tuning in. Take care and have a great day.